are there going to be beings where their higher self is going to be physically embodied in this vessel in this lifetime in ascension?
Oh yes, there'll be many people that will be integrated with their with their higher self, in addition to being assisted by the physical presence of Venusians and other extraterrestrials here on the Earth. But it will happen, and the Earth itself will turn into a celestial sphere. It will be a crystalline sphere, a sphere of light. It'll be part of the pleroma, integrated into the pleroma itself.
Okay.
And as the book of as it says in your book of Revelation, there'll be no more sorrow, no more tears, no more pain, and no more death. For all these things shall have passed away.
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul Podcast and a Talk Show. On this show, we talk about deep spiritual and mystical experiences of people which we normally shy away talking about. We are more than our physical body. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, and we discuss how a soul exists on multiple dimensions. We discuss science, technology, and spirituality point of views and perspectives on this show. Our purpose is to open our minds to limitless possibilities and our hearts to love and shine the light within bright. Our guest today is Dr. Raymond Keller. He is also known as Cosmic Ray. He's a veteran and retired history professor, and he's an international award-winning author of the Venus Rising series of books. His books explored many facets of the conditions and life on Venus in many dimensions from a perspective of conspiracies, history, politics, governance, theosophy, ufology, current events, and especially space research. Dr. Keller, that is Ray, has lived and worked in 44 different countries and has been writing about UFOs, mysteries of the planet, Venus, and flying saucers and paranormal activities since 1967. He was the founder and director of Outer Space International Research and Investigation Society. I had a very interesting conversation with Ray, and during my conversations with Ray about Venus, he made an astonishing revelation about a mass disclosure that is going to happen in July 2026. We discussed about his journey. He started from science, from researching UFOs and ufology, then how he moved into spirituality, how he met ascended masters from Venus, how we as Earth are going to ascend into higher vibration and become 602nd planet in the Sirius Confederation. How he physically traveled to Venus. Yes, you heard it right, not astrally, but he physically visited planet Venus. And what did he do? How was his space shuttle? How was his encounter with hybrid beings? How he communicated with those beings? About the Venus civilization, how they travel across the solar system, and how he manifested his deepest desires with the power of intention and focus. A lot of different topics. And we actually had live channeling of a Venusian being through Ray on our podcast. Fascinating conversation and a long conversation. So I have divided this into two parts. So I hope you love this and give a lot of love to our brothers and sisters who are living across the planets or in our solar system and across all solar system. Hello, Ray. A very warm welcome to Multidimensional Soul Talk Show and a podcast. It's an honor and privilege to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Akanksshaa. Much appreciated that you have me as a guest on your special program.
If you're new here or you have not watched the first episode, I highly recommend that you watch first episode with Cosmic Ray or Dr. Ray Keller. We discussed about shocking public disclosure that is going to happen in July 2026. So how to be prepared for that? Why he chose to do planet Venus exploration. From science to spirituality, his journey of contacting Venusians, the Galactic Confederation in Sirius star system, and how Earth is going to ascend, connecting with higher vibrational beings. We also discussed about how to manifest your dreams. We discussed about Hinduism and Venusian spirituality, about Ray's physical travel to Venus, how technologically and spiritually advanced are Venusians, how Ray met hybrid beings, how Venusians grow food, and how they travel across the solar system and across galaxies. A very, very fascinating conversation. And watch it if you've not watched it. I hope you enjoy the part two also. When you went over there, I remember that you had talked about going there for some queen's coronation or some ceremony. So can you talk about little bit political system and what kind of governance do they have? Do they have different governments and do they have different countries within the planet? How does that work?
Well, the it's more of a communitarian kind of of government, but through autonomous communities. But they they have a matriarchy, just like in it's organized very much like a beehive. So they do have a queen that's selected from among them, and she rules the planet with a regent and a science council.
Oh, okay. That's quite different. Okay. Yeah, and it's matriarchal. So when you talk about being matriarchal, and this is something that I have been seeing across all my guests, the message that we are getting is now the divine feminine is rising across, and the feminine is going to rule or be in charge of the governance across. So is that right or how?
Uh, yes, the wisdom of women and the leadership of women has not been fully appreciated or utilized on Earth, but now we're starting to come around to it. It's been a long time, but during the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, up to about 13,000 years ago, there was more of a matriarchal society. Then you see a remnants of it in the surviving world, and so it's about time, really.
Hey, it's very fascinating that you had mentioned that you went there and they are in fourth dimension, which is in a time, and you, from Earth time perspective, you were there for 10 weeks. So is the time different on Venus? How does that work from Venus perspective? Is it 10 weeks or is it something else? And
Oh yes, 10 weeks by counting when I returned to Earth. But time is measured quite differently on Venus, and I should explain something. It's all linked to the relationship of the Earth to Venus is linked through the Fibonacci numbers, and the way that goes is for Venus being closer to the Sun has more orbits than the has a much shorter year than the Earth does. It doesn't take as long for Venus to go around. very interesting and more than a synchronicity that the Fibonacci numbers fit exactly to the orbits of the Earth and Venus. So for every 5 orbits of Venus, there's exactly 3 of the Earth. For every 8 of Venus, there's exactly 5 of the Earth. For every 13 of Venus, there's exactly 8 of the Earth. So it's the ascending Fibonacci scale. The ratio is a direct Fibonacci relationship on the orbits of the Earth and Venus, and also the indigenous species of Venus is a very large kind of bee. I was wondering, is there anything correlating with that on Earth? And on Earth, there's about 250 some species of bees. But there's one species that particular is in Nicaragua. It's a bee that's slightly bigger than a mouse, and it has its nest, its hive in the volcanic sands of volcanoes, in the hot sands of volcanoes in Nicaragua. So, but there's a bee like that on Venus, and it's about 5 foot long, actually, and
Wow.
The various species of bees, according to the Sufi legends and so forth, Rumi and everything, bees were a gift of the Venusians to the people of Earth. In ancient Rome and Greece, the familiars of Lady Venus, the goddess Venus, are doves and bees.
Oh,
And
wow.
the Roman emperors had embroidered bees on their robes, and then the Merovingians and the kings and so forth of Europe, even Napoleon, he had bees embroidered on everything, and so it's definitely all related to the planet Venus.
Wow. Okay. I remember Einstein had said once that if bees were to go extinct, the humanity will go extinct. So there is some connection over there. And of course, everything in the universe is linked to one another.
Oh yes, 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 Akanksshaa, that is correct. The flowers everywhere, the trees, it's all dependent upon pollination. So the bees and other insects, this is very important to the survival of the earth. And well, the bees have always been my friends. When I was growing up, I would just go and pick them up off of flowers, and everybody thought that was kind of weird. And well, it's kind of remarkable too. I went to I went with a friend, Sherry Lynn, who's a psychic here, and we went set up a table on the fairgrounds outside. There's a Hindu temple, the Golden Temple in West Virginia, just south of Wheeling. They hold rock concerts and everything there, but we set up on the grounds there, and a large bee, like a queen bee. I think it was a queen bee because it didn't have most bees have the little fuzz in back of its head, and this one didn't. So that means it was a queen, and it was large. It landed on my shoulder, and it stayed there for 4 hours. Sherry Lynn took pictures of it and posted it. It's on rents.com, I think. And yeah, took pictures of this bee that wouldn't leave. And then when we were packing, I said, and I had a statue of Venus, the goddess Venus on the table, and I think that's what attracted it. So it came and landed on my shoulder. And then I said, well, I told the bee, I've got to go home now. And I've got to pack and go home now because we have to leave to leave here. So I have to say goodbye. And then it just flew away. but it stayed there for 4 hours. Everybody was walking by and looking at it like what's going on here? Aren't you worried that you're going to get stung?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And Fibonacci sequence, I think it's there as a part of sunflowers also. I love sunflowers.
Uh-huh.
Fibonacci sequence is known as the divine sequence because it's found mostly in the universe. It's a sacred geometry. So coming back to the time on Venus.
Yeah, 10 weeks is measured by Earth time.
Yeah.
So by time I got back to Earth, it was 10 weeks that had passed.
How long were you there on Venus?
Oh, it was just like a fraction of a day, not
Oh,
even a fraction. Yeah, just a small fraction of one day.
okay.
Because
Okay.
on Venus, one day in Earth time would be like equivalent to 119 or 120 days
Wow.
of light. Because long ago, when Venus got bombarded by asteroids, it slowed the rotation of the planet down significantly.
Okay. And when you mentioned that you visited the beings that were in the fourth dimension, I believe that there are beings astrally at the higher dimension also on Venus. Omnic had talked about it, and she comes from astral level of Venus, I believe. So, what is the difference between the third dimensional humans like us versus the fourth dimension and even higher? Can you travel across the time, or time is malleable, or there is no space time construct at all? How is it? How does that work?
Yes, they have a time travel capability, and they can monitor the flow of the flow of time, but they're still physical beings. They haven't transcended yet into spiritual beings or light
Okay.
beings, not yet. In
Not
in the
yet light beings. So are they able to manifest everything instantly? Because you said that they can time travel. So if time is malleable, then are they able to manifest whatever they want instantly, or it doesn't work like that?
No, they're essentially guardians of time. That's what they're charged with, is maintaining the maintaining the proper flow of time. So if there are anomalies that take place, they can go back and fix it.
Oh wow, something like Legends of Tomorrow, that show.
Yeah, yeah. You know, they have a time police, or the Metrons, and they monitor the flow of time.
Okay. And did you visit any astral beings over there?
Well, I've seen them come and go. They can come and, like ascended masters here on Earth. They can come and go, and they can see us, but we generally can't see them, and we can't go up. Generally, we can't go up to where they are. So, like on Earth, if we were to go into the high Himalayas, maybe if we were very spiritually attuned, we would be able to enter through a portal and go into Shambhala. But for the most part, we would just go up there, and we wouldn't see or hear or know of anybody. You'd have to be in a certain state of awareness, of heightened spiritual awareness.
Right. Yeah. So when you were there on Venus physically, how is Venus? Is it same like beautiful like Earth? Earth has beauty in quite a few places. I mean, on Earth, so like there's greenery and water, and the colors, are they same as Earth? Because you mentioned that it was underground. So did you not see sun at all, or how was it?
You could go up on the surface on certain times, and in certain places on Venus, it's very nice all the time. The Venera probes indicated the northern uh, latitudes of Venus are quite quite habitable, and they are. They are about constant 84 degrees, and there is an atmospheric cooling system on Venus with dual cyclones that never stop at the North Pole and also the South Pole that circulate the atmosphere and keep the temperature moderated. Once upon a time, after the planet's rotation was slowed down, the atmosphere kept moving, though. And a Venusian day at that time was the equivalent of 4 Earth days. And so it still takes, the atmosphere is still moving at that rate. It takes approximately 4 Earth days for the atmosphere to cycle around on Venus one time, the cloud cover. But the actual day was slowed down to about equivalent of 4 months of our time. So it has its own innate beauty. It reminds me of certain parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and California.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Amazing. And because you traveled there and came back here, it must be a very different experience for you. I mean, this is something that I'm talking to for the first time. I'm talking to somebody like this. So, can you tell us what was your biggest lesson that you learned from their teachings, the spiritual wisdom from Venusian beings? And after you came here, how easy or difficult was it to integrate everything in your normal life over here?
Well, I learned that kindness is the highest principle and that we are part of a greater galactic community. They respect us as brothers and sisters. They're just waiting for us to develop and grow and mature to the point where we can be part of the galactic community. But right now there's so much hostility on the earth, and there's so much that we need to learn to spiritually develop and grow sufficiently to be a part of this greater whole.
Right. So you had mentioned that we are going to be 602nd planet in the Sirian system once we evolve enough. So what does humanity need to do to go there, to be there in the higher vibration? What I understand is right now we are already in ascension and we are moving to fifth dimension. As Earth itself, we are raising the vibration, and some of the beings on Earth who are star seeds are actually from higher dimensions, and they are going to move to even higher dimensions. But Earth as a whole is going to move in fifth dimension. So when is that going to happen? Is that going to happen in our lifetime? And what do we need to do to move there?
Okay, there's many things that we have to do. Primarily, we have to recognize the unification of humankind, that we're all brothers and sisters, that we're all spiritual beings having a physical experience. We have to recognize that. We have to not shut ourselves off from new avenues of learning and thinking. We have to start thinking outside of the box. That means that rather than operating from economic positions of scarcity, where we fight over the crumbs of the pie, we just have to bake more pies for everybody. We have to start thinking in terms of abundance instead of scarcity, for one thing. We have to learn to share. We have to learn to be kind. We have to have a planetary energy grid. We have to be more aware of our environment. We have to put away war and nuclear weapons, which are not only contaminating this world but extending into space. And we have to start to develop the powers that are latent within us. we have many things that we can do, just as the Venusians can. We have we have many psychic abilities. You know, we have extrasensory perception. We have the ability to read the vibrations off of objects. We have clairvoyance. We have clairaudience. We even have bilocation. We can do many amazing things when we tap into these powers. And once we do that, we'll be able to be on a par with our brothers and sisters in the galactic community. And one of the reasons that we haven't been able to do these things, besides being unaware that we even have them, is we haven't developed enough spiritual maturity. So sometimes they look at us and they see that we're, with all of our wars and crime and everything, that we're like a circular firing squad. You know, we're like a child we're playing with matches in a dynamite shack. So until we can grow up a little bit more, we won't be there. However, good news is that many star seeds are awakening to their true origins, which is fantastic. And as some of these star seeds awaken and become activated, they themselves will ascend to fifth dimensional or higher levels of consciousness, and maybe even become translated beings like Annalise Guerin. But we're talking about a small percentage of the population. However, in talking about the new age and the age of Aquarius, or the age of the age of enlightenment, those of us that are interested in these things and studying these things, ufology and paranormal phenomena and comparative religions and philosophies and things, we're studying these things because we're in our last incarnation on the Earth's material plane. And we're getting ready to ascend in our next incarnation to another sphere of existence. Maybe we're here as part of our mission, being so enlightened, is to reach out to our brothers and sisters here on Earth and help them become aware and help them activate their own starseed consciousness, because we go from world to world, as line upon line and precept upon precept. As we learn these things, that's how we become exalted beings. And so that's the story about the other dimensions.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. When you mentioned about the light beings and Intergalactic Federation, can you talk a little bit about their governance? How is there any hierarchy of light beings, or how is it? What kind of governance is there in this Sirius Confederation in which we are going to be a part of? And you use some word from P, but
a pleroma.
Paroma. Okay.
These are the higher celestial realms. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus was explaining to Mary Magdalene that he was in the pleroma, and he could see endless of angels, an infinity of angels on countless worlds without end, that he didn't even know the end, the end of them. And he said that's the pleroma, the realms of light that are out there. When I did the rendition, the translation of the Gospels of Thomas and Mary Magdalene, that's in there with an explanation. And then as far as the celestial hierarchy of light, within our solar system, each solar system has a tribunal where the souls are in the balance, and that is in the Saturnian system. And then there's a well of souls, which is on the planet Uranus, the seventh planet, and it's underneath the surface of Uranus, and it's like a crystal ice caves. When you pass from the material plane, a spark of consciousness goes into a crystal on the 7th planet, and it stays there until a determination is made of where it will go next by this tribunal on Saturn. And then then it can be released. And it doesn't matter if you're in there 1,000 years or a day in the crystal, your consciousness embedded in the crystal, that you don't even know. It's like when you go into it, it's like a second and you're out of it. And it could be that you're in there because time doesn't exist in there. You're just you're embedded in the crystal. Your consciousness is embedded in the crystal. So that's how that works. And then on each planet, they, for example, on the Earth, they don't want to impose. They want us now, while we're in the process of developing, to come up with our own systems of governance, our own autonomous systems, because even a good dictatorship is, after all, a dictatorship. And we won't, Commander Aura Reigns explained that we wouldn't long appreciate even being under a benevolent dictatorship, that we would rebel against that, because it's not a system indigenous and autonomous to our own planet. And so the Venusians have said that we don't want to be glorified babysitters. We want you to develop and mature on your own and develop your own systems that are appropriate to your own peoples and your own needs. So that's one of the things that they're waiting for.
That's fascinating.
And
And
the reason that they have a confederation, well, there are many alliances and federations and so forth out there, but the reason that they have a confederation is because they have such a great variety of species in 601 worlds, as you saw from Lady Columba's diagram before, or her artwork before, about the different beings besides humanoids that live on the various worlds. So they all have different needs. They can't be governed by the same kind of systems, because they even have different atmospheres to breathe in, and so forth, and different gravities and everything different histories and traditions. So they have to be welcomed as equals, but under the different kind of systems that they develop. So you can't have one blanket thing to fit all of these different. That's why it's a confederation and not a federation. And so I should explain that as far as understanding the governance, because some think it's like some federation, but a federation implies uniform rules and regulations, but a confederation implies acceptance, love and acceptance of differences, but still unity and purpose. So that's the difference there as far as governance goes.
wow, okay, I was not aware of this, because I've heard from many light workers about Galactic Federation of Light. I had not heard about the Confederation and the difference between the Federation and Confederation. So thank you for clarifying that.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Well, a lot of people, they see science fiction and like Star Trek and everything, and that's the term that they use there. But realistically, it can't be a federation when you have so many varied species. So it's just not realistic. There are federations out there with similar beings. I could think of people from Aldebaran and the Pleiades. They have a lot in common, but when you have a vast accumulation of different species, let alone races, but I mean different species altogether, you need something more vast, a little broader, like a confederation instead of a federation.
Right. Yeah. And when we talked about crystals, actually, Atlantis had worked with crystals spiritually as well as scientifically. I know that crystals are actually beings, they're not just crystals. And Atlantis used to use them quite widely, but that knowledge got lost. Even now, if we work with the crystals, then we do have higher vibrations and we can transcend if we work with the crystals in the right way.
Oh, yes. And I'm glad that you brought that up about Atlantis because they were guilty of misusing crystal energies. They went to war with Lemuria on the other side of the world. So they were like the U.S. and the USSR during the 1950s. They were the two superpowers at each other's throats all the time, and because they misused them, they ended up destroying themselves. So 64 million people were destroyed in Lemuria, and there were just a few remnant islands that survived. And Atlantis in the wars had already been broken up into 9 different islands, and then all of them were sunk with the in the final war, in the final cataclysm. I think that was like 12,500 years ago. Like there was some remnant of Atlantis that survived in the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain and France, the Atlas Mountains in Africa, and among Native American civilizations like along the coast, the Toltecs and the Olmecs and that. And then for Lemuria, you have like the Hamanga Trilithon in Tonga and some remnants there in Polynesia. And then also the in Mount Shasta, a colony survived there. Underneath Mount Shasta, there's a Lemurian colony called Telos, and it's still there. And people coming to Mount Shasta, sometimes they stumble into it when they go explore the caverns around Mount Shasta. And there's been a lot written about that. So people that are interested, just type in Google Telos, Telos, and they can find out more about that and how they dealt with crystals and crystalline energy.
Yeah, I have learned a little bit about crystals, and I use crystals quite heavily. But I do know that Atlantis civilization destroyed everything because of misuse of the technology and the crystals. So we have to be quite aware of how we are using for the benefit of everybody, and not misuse the crystals or the technology.
Yes, if it's for healing and energy, that's great. But it's just like atomic energy. You know, you could use it to power cities, or you could use it to blow cities up.
Yeah.
So it's all intention. It's all intentionality. Like we were talking about in the beginning of the program. That's the important thing right there, intentionality.
True, true. So we've come full circle. We've had a lot that we discussed. Can we do live channeling now? Would you be able to? Do you want to go in trance, or how does it happen?
Yes, I can be one in mind with Vorton, who was the guide from Venus for Annabelle Krebs, who I documented in this book, The Lady Columba Venus Revelation. So I will be glad to impart the wisdom of Vorton, but I have to just kind of be in a little meditative state here. I'm going to turn off this light.
Okay, sure.
So I don't have any other electrical interference other than the computer. Now, feel free to ask a question now at any time.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for answering our questions over here.
Oh, you are quite welcome, and I also thank Raymond for sharing his higher self with us and with you.
When we are talking about Earth moving into the higher vibration right now and ascending into fifth dimension, there are some theories that not everyone is ready to move into higher dimension, and there is a part of the population that is going to remain in the 3D. So are we going to see the Earth split into one Earth into third dimension and one Earth into fifth dimension, which will be a part of some other galactic confederation, or how is it going to be? Can you just explain that?
The Earth will remain intact physically. However, the star seeds will be the avatars to those that are still in transition.
The Earth will remain physically intact, you said, but the star seeds will move into the higher dimensions.
Yes, they will be psychically and spiritually in a higher dimension to serve as teachers. Their powers will be augmented so that they could serve in a greater capacity.
So, when you talk about psychically and spiritually augmented, what can people do to acquire those powers and evolve spiritually?
The important thing is to realize that they have a divine spark within them and to find their higher self, to go into their higher self.
Okay. So, what I understand is that there are a few thousand people, and I don't know exact number. There are some talking about 144,000 light workers and star seeds being responsible for this, or there are some talking about 10,000. I don't know the exact number, but can you tell us that are there going to be beings where their higher self is going to be physically embodied in this vessel in this lifetime in ascension?
Oh yes, there'll be many people that will be integrated with their higher self, in addition to being assisted by the physical presence of Venusians and other extraterrestrials here on the Earth. Since the dawn of the atomic age and the space age, force of Venusians here on the Earth has been significantly augmented from 4,000 to 12,000 physical Venusians that live and work here among you.
Oh, wow. Okay. How is that going to impact the humans on Earth? Is our DNA going to be different? And are we going to ascend with our bodies, physical bodies?
Yes, some will physically ascend when their mission is completed here on the Earth, but the Venusians themselves are here to teach you, to teach the teachers. In other words, as facilitators.
As per the Hindu scriptures, it is known that when you want to ascend, as in move into enlightenment or getting liberated from this entire cycle of birth and death, you have to come on earth and finish the karma over here and not get entangled in that karmic cycle of life and birth and death. So what can you talk about that in terms of how can we finish our karmic cycles and ascend easily into higher dimension?
Yes, the cycles are attached to planets. So one cycle on the Earth is generally 13 incarnations, 12 to 13 incarnations. So as an individual, you could say that they go through each of the signs of the zodiac on the plane of the ecliptic. On Venus, they have 13 because they consider other stars as being constellations. But yeah, 12 to 13 cycles, incarnations on Earth's material plane, generally to learn the lessons in in this school, and then they go to a higher sphere where they will progress even more. The cycle is never ending because it's a progression to godhood.
Okay. So once the earth beings evolve and move into higher dimensions, are they going to incarnate somewhere else in the same solar system or in the same galaxy, or are they going to be one with God?
It may be in another planet in the solar system, or even in another solar system, and there is a realm of God worlds that generally referred to as the pleroma, which is beyond the confines of space and time, as you know it.
So, in terms of the message to humanity at this time, what is your message to humanity for us to ascend into higher dimensions?
Well, the message is to be of service to your fellow beings. That's why you are here. We don't want to leave anybody behind. We want everybody to make it. We're going to make it all if we work together. But we have a long way to go to do that. But it all begins with kindness one to another.
And when is that going to happen? The entire earth moving into the higher dimension? Is it going to happen in our lifetime, in the near future, or when is it going to happen?
Well, no one knows the exact day or hour. Even Jesus had said as much. But it will happen, and the earth itself will turn into a celestial sphere. It will be a crystalline sphere, a sphere of light. It'll be part of the pleroma, integrated into the pleroma itself.
Okay.
And as the book of as it says in your book of Revelation, there'll be no more sorrow, no more tears, no more pain, and no more death. For all these things shall have passed away.
Okay. In terms of the guidance for my channel, because I'm doing the work of educating people for moving into higher consciousness, higher dimension. And my son, who crossed over in 2020, he was 17 years old when he was physically here, and he is helping me in spirit from the higher realms. So, can you give a message for this multidimensional soul podcast and my channel for this vision?
Yes, we should have no fear of death, because matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It's always been and always will be, is now and ever shall be. We are all part of the eternities. Everything we do now echoes through the eternities, past, present, and future, and nothing is ever lost. And the love that is the most important thing that we carry on with us. The love we take and the knowledge that we acquire goes with us to whatever planet or star system or celestial realm that we find ourselves. The love never dies.
Yes. And is there any specific area that I should focus on for this channel?
Rain, and I thank you for the work that you do in bringing awareness to the higher realms, and helping people to access these, and to find that divine spark that's within them. So many thanks for your kind assistance.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and giving the message for all of us.
You're quite welcome from the celestial hierarchy of light. Blessings to you and yours.
Thank you. I have a few questions, like a rapid fire, that I ask all my guests before we conclude. So, is it okay if I ask you those questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, if you have to explain to a common man what is a multidimensional soul, how would you explain it?
It would be a person who stands between worlds and understands the aspects of living in a multifaceted universe and can prepare him or herself to adapt in the new age.
What is holistic well-being to you?
Holistic means the entire being. So when we look at the human being, we see the physical construct, but beyond that, we have emanations, we have vibrations, we have an aura, and that encompasses also aspects of our higher self. So the whole being includes the higher self, which is that attachment to the multidimensionality that you just mentioned in the previous question.
Okay. What is the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life is to gather the intelligence and knowledge requisite to, I would say, being integrated with the higher self, because that's the part of the cosmic consciousness. In other words, let me put it this way. If I'm a raindrop and I fall from the sky, I've precipitated from the oceans and the rivers, I'm in the clouds, and I come back as a raindrop. When the raindrop falls into the river and eventually goes back into the ocean or the sea, the raindrop represents me as an individual consciousness, and my purpose as a raindrop is to get back into the ocean, because then I still have my individual consciousness, but then I understand the bigger picture because I share the cosmic consciousness of the ocean.
What is love according to you?
Love is thinking beyond yourself, extending yourself, and reaching out to others. It's putting aside the ego and caring about others as part of your mission being here on Earth. That you're not alone here. You're not here to serve yourself. That when you're in service to the others, you're actually doing the best for yourself.
What is self-love according to you?
Well, self-love, as the world understands it, self-love is a kind of narcissism, but in a higher way of speaking, self-love is a self-realization of who you really are, that the spark of the divine that you have within you, that you realize that you're more than what you're looking at in the mirror.
And what is your parting message for our audience?
Oh, my parting message is to be kind to one another, because that's the key to the eternities. That's the keys to getting into heaven through the back door, as Annalise Guerin once stated.
Where can people find you? How can they contact you?
They can go to Anja's site, venusspirit.com, or they can just type Keller Venus on Amazon and order any of my books. Or they can, if they want to, they can write me at my email, which is rkeller1@mix.wvu.edu. And I'll be very happy to answer any and all emails.
Awesome. So we will give the links to all your books and your email ID in the video description in YouTube. It's been absolutely an honor and a pleasure talking to you, Ray. Thank you so much for so generously giving us time and live channeling with the Venusian beings. And it's been amazing talking to you. So thank you. You're doing great work, and thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Akanksshaa. Much appreciated. Thank you for sharing your time and allowing me to present the Venus message.
Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. as Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.